Good morning, learners. Our subject for today is Mathematics 5 for Quarter 3, Week 1. And our topics are visualizing percent and its relationship to fractions, ratios, and decimal numbers using models. Defining percentage, rate, or percent and base. Identifying base, percentage, and rate in a problem. At the end of the lesson, you are expected to visualize this percent and its relationship to fractions, ratios, and decimal numbers using models. Define percentage, rate, or percent and base. Identifies base, percentage, and rate in a problem. Let us observe the illustration. How many small squares are there? Yes, it has 100 squares. And how many small squares are shaded? It has 7 squares. The figure is composed of 100 small squares, and there are 7 squares that are shaded. That means if you are going to make it in fraction, that is equivalent to 7 divided by 100 or 7 hundredths. In ratio, it is 7:100. The ratio 7:100 means 7 per hundred. Another name for per hundred is percent. So the symbol per percent is the one like this. Now, what is the relationship of percent to fraction, ratio, and decimal? 7:100 or 700 is also written as 7%. We read 7% as 7%. Percent symbol takes the place of the denominator 100 in fraction. That is why 7 hundredths is equivalent to 7%. Likewise, the symbol percent replaces the term 100 in a ratio. So, 7:100 is equivalent to 7%. And 7 hundredths or 7 over 100 is also 0.700 as a decimal. So, 7% is also 7 hundredths in decimal. So, for percent, we have the 7%. For ratio, we have 7:100. For fraction, we have 7 over 100. And for decimal, that is 7%. So, these numbers are actually the same in value. Let us try to visualize percent in solving word problem. So the problem is, Veronica and Ron earned 100 pesos for selling face masks. They gave their mother 80 pesos and put 20 pesos in their coin bank. What percent of their earnings did they give to their mother? And what percent did they have? Okay, so let us visualize the problem. So we have this illustration. So this part is the total earnings of Veronica and Ron, which is 100. And we have the 80 as the money given to their mother. And then for the 20% we have the put it in the coin bank. So there are 100 parts in all. The shaded part is 80 out of 100 parts. and that is 80%. And then we can write 80% as 80 and then the symbol. Then we can read this as 80%. And then the unshaded part is 20 out of 100 parts. And that is equivalent to 20%. So we can write 20%, so 20 and the symbol, and then we can read this as 20%. So based on the problem, there are 100 square grid. There are 80 squares that are shaded, and this can be read and written as follows. So for percent, we have 80%. And if we have to read this as 80%. And then for fraction, that is equivalent to 80 over 100, or we can read this as 80 hundredths. And for decimal, we have 80 hundredths. Okay, and we can read this as 80 hundredths. So for fraction, we have the same readings for decimal and fractions. And then for the ratio, that is 80 is to 100, and we can read this as 80 is to 100. Now what is percent? Percent is a special ratio that compares a certain number to 100. It is a ratio whose meaning is similar to fraction with a denominator of 100. And percent means hundreds, so it can be written as decimal, and a decimal in hundreds can be expressed as a percent. A short way to change a fraction with a denominator of 100 into decimal is to write the numerator and put the decimal points 2 places from the right. So percent is to write the numerator together with the percent sign. This time, you will know how to define percentage, rate, or percent, and base. Because all of us likes to eat fruits, and these are needed by our body to be able for us to stay healthy and fit. So I have here a problem. So here is the problem. In the class of Miss May, she divided her students into 8 groups. She asked the groups to select a leader. Among the fruits presented, 2 groups choose papaya as their favorite fruit. Let us analyze the problem so that we will clearly find out the base, the rate, and percentage in a given problem. Let us give the ratio of the total number of groups to the number of groups who choose papaya. And that is 8 is to 2. Let us write the given ratio into fraction. And that is 8 over 2. Let us convert the given ratio and fraction into percent. So we can convert it by means of division. So 2 divided by 8 is equivalent to 25 hundredths. So change it into percent, that is equivalent to 25%. So we can write 25% of 8 is 2. We deal with 3 elements: the rate, the base, and the percentage. So let us take the example a while ago. So we have 25% of 8 is equivalent to 2. Now what is 25%? That is the rate. And how about 8? That is the base. And 2 is now the percentage. So the relationship among the 3 is rate times base equals percentage, or percentage is equals to rate times base. So 25% is the rate. It is given as a percent. It can be expressed as ratio or fraction, while 8 is called the base. It is a whole number of which you take the percent. And 2 is called the percentage, meaning part of a whole. It is the resulting fraction part of the base. After learning the definition of base, rate, and percent, it will be very easy for us to identify the base, the rate, and the percentage in a given problem. Now, why is it important to us to know how to identify the base, rate, and percentage in a problem? Because we all know that we are facing and encountering different mathematical real-life situations. It is very important to know and to identify these three so you will know when and how to apply it. Let us answer learning task 1. Let us think of the place where we encounter percent before the pandemic. I know there were times that you joined your mother, sister, or you went with a family in the mall or department stores. And I know as you move around the store, you were able to see some items which are on sale. You were able to see items with percentage sign as shown in the examples below. So here is the t-shirt. The t-shirt is made up of 50% cotton and 50% polyester. So what does percent mean? So it means that the t-shirt composed of 50% cotton and 50% polyester. So that means it is equivalent to 100%. Now, let us answer learning task 2. Using pictures, the learners will give the ratio of the shaded parts to the whole part, then change them to fractions, decimals, and percent. Okay, so that is the illustration. So we have 3 illustrations. Now what you are going to do is to give the ratio of the shaded parts. Okay, so let us take first the first figure or the first illustration. Okay, so for the ratio that is equivalent, that is 84 is to 100. And for fraction, that is 84 over 100. And for decimal, that is 84 hundredths. And for percent, that is 84%. Okay, and for the second figure, we have the ratio as 46 is to 100. And then for the fraction, that is 46 hundredths. And for decimal, that is also 46 hundredths or 0.46. And then for the percent, we have 46%. And for the last figure, we have the ratio as 31 is to 100. And for the fraction, that is 31 over 100 or 31 hundredths. And for the decimal, that is also 31 hundredths. And then for the percent, that is 31%. Okay. So let us now answer learning task 3. So let us have another problem. Fill in the blanks with the correct word or phrase to complete the sentence. So 75% of the pupils of Mrs. Santiago like mathematics. So 30 pupils are math lovers. So we say that 75% of Mrs. Santiago are math lovers. In the given problem, 40 is our base because it represents the blank. 75% is the rate because it is the ratio between the blank and the blank. 30 pupils is the percentage because it is part of the blank. Okay, so let us answer. So in the given problem, 40 is our base because it represents the whole class of Mrs. Santiago. And 75% is the rate because it is the ratio between 30 math lovers and the 40 pupils of Mrs. Santiago. And 30 pupils is the percentage because it is part of the 40 pupils of Mrs. Santiago. Let us now answer learning task 4. So let us continue identifying the base, rate, and the percentage in the given problem. Write in the proper table the base, rate, and percentage of the given problem. So here is the table. So for the problem, number 1, there are 36 fruits in a basket. 18 of them are mangoes. 50% of them are mangoes. So what is the base, the rate, and the percentage? So for number 1, the base is 36, the rate is 50%, and the percentage is 18. Okay, so this time you are going to answer number 2 up to number 5. Okay, for learning task 5, collecting data or making tables. Carlo interviewed 100 of his friends on their most viewed TV program. The table below shows the number of interviewees who choose any of the 4 programs. What will you do is to express the value in fraction, in decimals, percent, and ratio form. Okay, so we have the TV programs, the Starstruck, It Bulaga, MTK, KMJS. And the number of friends, we have for Starstruck, we have 16. For It Bulaga, we have 35. For MTK, we have 30. And then for the KMJS, we have 19. So for a total of 100. So let us now give the fraction, the decimals, the percent, and the ratio. So for the fraction for number 1, so we have 16 hundredths. For decimals, we have 16 hundredths. And for percent, we have 16%. And for the ratio, that is equivalent to 16 is to 100. Okay, so what you're going to do is to fill out the fraction, the decimals, the percent, and ratio for the number 2, for It Bulaga down to KMJS. Okay, so let's move on to learning task 6. So read the problem carefully and identify the rate, the base, and the percentage in the following problem. Do not solve the problem, put n in the missing element. For number 1, Joshua has 5% commission rate on all his sales. If he sells 40,000 worth of merchandise in 1 month, how much will he earn? Number 2, 22% of Shirley's monthly salary is deducted for withholding. If those deductions total 209 pesos, what is her salary? Number 3, in a chemistry class of 30 students, 5 received a grade of A. And what percent of the students received A's grade? Okay, so let us now answer number 1. So rate is equivalent to 5%, base is 40,000 pesos, and the percentage is n because that is the missing element. For number 2, 22% as the rate, base is n because that is the missing element, and the percentage is 209 pesos. And for number 3, the rate is n, that is the missing element, and the base is 30, and the percentage is 5. So let us have the assimilation. So study the counting number and answer the following questions. So for number 1, how many counting numbers are there? And what percent shows the number 100 from the chart? Number 2, what part of the chart are even numbers? And then odd numbers. And what percent of even and odd numbers are present in the chart? And number 3, how many percent are the following? A. Multiples of 10, multiples of 5, and multiples of 3. And then for letter B, how many percent are prime numbers? And for letter C, composite numbers. Okay, so let us answer number 1. So how many counting numbers are there? So we have 100. And then what percent? 100%. For number 2, even numbers, we have 50%. And then odd numbers is also 50%. So we have 100% are even and odd numbers are present in the chart. Number 3, the multiples of 10, we have 10%. The multiples of 5, that is 20%. And the multiples of 3, we have 33%. Now, for the prime numbers, we have 26%. And then for the composite, we have 73%. Okay, so let us read the problem carefully, then answer the question that follows. For number 1, we saw 18 big fish in a pond. 50% of them were very colorful, and there are 9 colorful fishes. So the base in the problem is blank. For number 2, Mr. Gonzalez received the amount of 10,000 pesos after selling a computer set cost 50,000 pesos, for he has given a 20% commission. What is the rate in the problem? And then for number 3, in our class, there are 30 boys and 6 out of 30 are working students. It is 20% of the total number of boys in our class. Okay, so let us answer number 1. This will be an example for you to answer. So the answer is 18 big fishes in a pond. So that is the base in the problem. Okay, for the assessment, for letter A, write the name for each shaded part as fraction, ratio, percent, and decimal. So we have 3 illustrations. So for number 1 illustration, so we have the ratio, the fraction, the decimal, and the percent. So these are the answers for the first illustration. So we have, for the ratio, we have 78 is to 100. And then for fraction, we have 78 hundredths. And then for decimal, we have also 78 hundredths. And then for the percent, we have the 78%. Okay, for illustration 2 and 3, so you can work on that. Okay, so for the assessment for B, complete the table using the given data. So here is the table. So on the first column, we have the problem or the data, and then we have the second column as the ratio, and then fraction, percent, and decimal. So for the given data, the set of even numbers from 1 to 20, that is the number 1. Number 2, the set of odd numbers from 1 to 20. And then for number 3, the set of composite numbers from 1 to 20. And then for number 4, the set of prime numbers from 1 up to 20. Okay, so I will answer number 1 as an example. So for the ratio, we have 10 is to 20. And then for the fraction, we have 10 over 20 or 1/2. And then for the percent, we have 50%. And for the decimal, we have 50 hundredths. Okay, so for number 2 and number 3, down to number 4, so you will be the one who will answer this. So let's move on to letter C, which statement describes the given element. So for number 1, that is rate. So we have letter A, it gives the total of the whole. B, it always has the percent sign. Or C, it gives part of the whole. And number 2, percentage. A, it names part of the whole. B, it is always written with the percent sign. Or C, it represents the total number of the whole. For number 3, we have the base. A, it is the whole from which you take a portion. Or B, it is a part or portion of the whole. And C, it is termed as percent. Okay, so I will answer number 1 and then you will be the one to answer number 2 and number 3. So let us have the answer for number 1. The answer is, for the rate, it is always has the percent sign. Okay, so let's move on for the assessment letter D. Identify the base, the rate, and percentage in the problems below. So we have number 1 problem. The sale price of a book is 300 pesos. Its original price is 400 with 25% discount. So what is the base, the rate, and the percentage? So for number 2, in our barangay, 40 families are engaged in fishing. If there are 160 families in our barangay, 25% of the families in the barangay are engaged in fishing. So you will give the base, the rate, and the percentage. For number 3, there are 60 members in our school band. 15% of them are from our class, and 9% or 9 band members come from our class. So what is the base, the rate, and the percentage? So number 1, I will answer this as an example, and then you will answer number 2 and number 3. So what is the answer for number 1? So the base is 400. So what is the rate? 25%, and the percentage is 300. Okay. So this time for the reflection, write your personal insights about the lesson using the prompts below. So for number 1, I understand that blank. I realize that blank. And I need to learn more about blank. And that concludes our lesson for this morning. So thank you very much. God bless everyone. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and then like